I went to the ADCC North American Trials the other day.
Yeah.
Which is the submission grappling / jiu-jitsu Olympics, which takes place in a few months, and you have to do trials to get to that. And while I was there, I got a bunch of questions. I talked to a bunch of people, and one of the main questions I got was getting kids into jiu-jitsu, keeping kids in jiu-jitsu, like all those kind of questions. And the thing is, this is not just about jiu-jitsu. This is about everything. This is about everything that we do, not just with kids, but with people that we work with employees, with everyone. So I wanted to address it a little bit. Getting people to do things, right? But around the framework of how do you get kids to do jiu-jitsu. So number one, I'm getting asked, how old should kids be when they start? How do I get them to like it? What if they don't want to do it? So there's a bunch of questions there. The first question is how old? And in my experience, I taught kids jiu-jitsu at Victory MMA for about probably 6 years, something along those lines. And here's what I notice most of the time. As far as going to classes goes, generally speaking, girls are a little bit more mature than boys are. So generally speaking, by 5, girls are ready. Generally speaking, 5, boys are barely ready. So it's not like a huge, big difference. I had one boy, the entire time I taught kids that was 4 years old, that was like engaged. One out of many, many, many boys. I had more girls than that were engaged. So here's the thing. Yes, if you're going to take your kids to a jiu-jitsu class, maybe they can try it at 4. Most likely it's not going to be worth your money. At 5, they might be able to go to class, get something out of it, move forward with the process. And then by 6 and 7, they should be pretty good to go. Here's where I don't want you to freak out. If your kid is 5 and they hate jiu-jitsu and they don't want to go, or they don't pay attention, they roll around on the floor, they don't listen, they're causing disruptions, you're not going to lose their freaking capability of becoming awesome because they didn't train until they were 6. And as a matter of fact, it doesn't matter if they don't really train until they're 7. And as a matter of fact, it doesn't really matter if they don't train until they're 8. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even matter if they don't start training until they're 11. If you take a competition between a kid that was forced to train since he was 5 and doesn't like it, and another kid that starts training at 11 and he loves it, and now both those kids are 16, who's going to win?
I think the guy who likes it.
The guy who likes it.
Yeah.
So let's focus on that. Let's focus on that. Here's another thing. Here's another answer to that question. How old should your kid be when they start jiu-jitsu? The answer is 0. They should be 0. You should be wrestling with them and rolling around and mounting them and teaching them how to do hip escapes, and not teaching them how to do hip escapes, but making them. Guess what? Guess how you can get someone to do a hip escape? Tickle their belly. They start moving. Oh, I'm going to keep doing this until you move away. Okay, cool. We're just doing a hip escape. There's all kinds of little things. The Gracies have like the Gracie games. I think you can look it up on YouTube, but it's just a bunch of little games you can play. Stay on the mount, right? Ride the horse, right? And let them mount, and now you move around, and they try and keep their balance. Stay on the back. Okay, it's the same thing. What about an arm lock? Can you teach a little kid? Yes, you can absolutely teach a little kid an arm lock. You can absolutely teach a little kid an arm lock and a rear naked choke. Be careful with the rear naked choke, because if they do it to their friends, could be bad. Could be. Right? So you got to be, you want to hold off on that one. But a little kid, you can teach them all kinds of stuff, all kinds of movement drills, all kinds of positional things that are going to be very, very helpful. Keeping across the side, keeping the back, how to pass the guard. Can a 3-year-old little toddler pass your guard? Oh, yes, they can. Can you teach them how to pass guard? Can you get them to play with each other past? Yes, you can. So you don't teach them, like I said, I should have made this a little bit more clear. Can you teach them an arm lock? Yes. What you should concentrate on is positional. So you're not teaching the kid that could break some other kid's arm or choke another kid. But go through those Gracie games, make it fun. Make it fun. Make it fun. Now, look, you may have a kid that likes things to be serious. You ever seen a kid like that?
Yes.
Yep. There's kids out there that they want to be serious. They feel like they want to be Michael Jordan. And so they have an attitude like they're Michael Jordan. And they're 5. I've seen 5 and 6 and 7-year-old kids that are like that. If you got a kid like that, cool. You got to find the right school for the kid. If you take your kid to a school where they're trying to train Michael Jordans and your kid's a clown, it's not going to be fun for him.
No, it's not.
He needs it more then. No, he's just going to hate it. If you take your kid that is a Michael Jordan to a school that's more like we're having fun, they're not going to like it as much. So you got to kind of find the right school for them. And by the way, it might not be the school that you like. You might be like, I want my kid to be a world champ. They're going to this academy where it's freaking hardcore. And they end up not liking jiu-jitsu because you didn't take them to this other school, the other side of town where they're about having fun. And again, you got to figure out what your kid likes. Figure out what your kid likes, because there's also going to be that psychological reactance that we've talked about, which is we don't like being forced to do things. Human beings don't like being forced to do things. And even the best food tastes bad when it gets forced down your throat. So don't force the jiu-jitsu down people's throat. So there you go. That's what we're doing. Competition, because I was up at a competition. Hickson talked about this. Hoyler talked about this. Elio, their dad, the founder of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, would tell his kids when they were competing, I'll give you $5 if you win and $10 if you lose. Win-win situation. So you're going to be sad, but you're going to be okay with it. I was thinking about, why would you do that? Well, it's because otherwise they don't want to compete, or they may not want to compete. Or they may be so freaked out about losing that, oh my gosh, if I lose, my dad's not going to like me anymore. But if your dad says, look, it's hard to explain to a kid, listen, when you say to your kid, like, I'm happy if you just try. Yeah. Just try your best. They don't really believe that sometimes.
Yeah.
They're like, Dad, come on. We're here to win.
Yeah.
But if you say, listen, I want you to do this. And if you win, yeah, I'll be excited and I'll give you $5. But if you lose, I'll give you $10. It's like a positive, actual, quantifiable vision that you're giving them. Yeah. That competition, win or lose, is good, and winning is great. Losing, even better. So it removes that pressure. Now, look, someone might be like, well, don't you want them to have pressure? Yes, they're going to get pressure. The pressure is there. Mm-hmm. And as they get older, it's going to get more and more. But that's just a good attitude. So those are some ideas to think about for competition. Those are some ideas to think about for how to get them started. Now you might run into the situation where they don't like it. Don't like it, don't want to do it. I don't like it. First of all, what other schools could you check out? That's why go to a few schools before you go into one and pick that school. Go to a couple different schools. Mm. Go to a few, maybe you can even go to 2 or 3. Look, in San Diego, you could go to 19 different schools. Yes, I know not all the world's like that. Mm. In Austin, you could go to 27 different schools. Mm. But hopefully you got a couple options. You can go try it out. If your kid is like, I freaking don't like this. I don't like it. I don't like the people. I don't like this. I don't like jiu-jitsu. My reaction to that is like, hey, I get it, no problem. Jiu-jitsu is not for everyone. But so since you don't like it, you're just going to go twice a week just to make sure you know how to defend yourself. Hmm. What do you mean I don't like jiu-jitsu? I know you don't like it. I don't like it. It's okay that you don't like it. It's not that big of a deal. But in order to defend yourself, in case you get into a fight, in case someone picks on you, in case somebody tries to kidnap you, we're just going to give you enough training twice a week so that you can handle yourself, because I'm not always going to be there. And it's just like kind of like brushing your teeth, or kind of like getting a haircut, or kind of like standing in line at the groceries. Like, you don't want to stand in line at the groceries, but you have to stand in line at the groceries. Right? You got to. It's just the way it works. So that's what jiu-jitsu is. Like, hey, twice a week, no big deal. If you don't want to do it more than that, I get it. So it's just twice a week because you're not into it. Cool. If you like it, we can do it 7 days a week. But if you don't like it, I get it. You only have to do it twice a week. To me, that's a good way to overcome whatever years or whatever, a 6-month period where they're like, well, I don't like it. And you go, okay, it's no big deal. You don't have to do it. You only got to do it twice a week. Keep them in the game. They're learning so much. There's an escalation of that if they hate it, right? I hate jiu-jitsu. Cool. Let them take a break. Oh, that's okay. You know what? It's soccer season. You're going to do soccer right now. We'll pick it up when you're done. You don't look, it's only 2 days a week, and you can stop right now for soccer season. But after that, you got to defend yourself. So, hey, no big deal. You hate it? Cool. No big deal. I hate jiu-jitsu. Cool. Take a break. It's soccer season. It's basketball season, whatever. You want to play baseball this summer? Hey, great. We'll take a little break from jiu-jitsu. After this, though, twice a week, that's kind of what, that's just the minimum, Like if you want to be a person, you got to do it twice a week. But no big deal during soccer season. You know what? Every year during soccer season, no jiu-jitsu. No big deal because you like soccer too. So no problem. You see what I'm saying? We're allowing them to influence us, which allows us to have influence on them. If they say, I hate jiu-jitsu, and you say, shut up, you're doing it anyways, you're probably going to get them into a situation where they hate jiu-jitsu forever, which can be a problem. If you let them go, they're probably going to come back to it because jiu-jitsu is awesome. So, by the way, same thing with anything. Same thing with the people that you work with. Same thing with your spouse. If you allow them to influence you, you'll have more influence over them. If you make things fun, they're going to be more apt to do it. So there's no reason to force things. Make things fun. Don't force it. And here's a tough one. Let your kid be who they are, not who you want them to be. And the more that you try and get them to be who you want them to be, there's a decent chance they'll become more and more the antithesis of what you want them to be. So you got to be careful of that. You know what, too? And we just got done talking with Dave Burke about this.
Good deal, Dave.
Yeah. He's like, because I asked him how, what jiu-jitsu was in his family. And he's like, it's just what we're doing. Mm-hmm. If you as a parent, like jiu-jitsu is just part of what you're doing and you're not, they're seeing it. They're seeing that you're doing it. Look, if you're not doing jiu-jitsu yourself, you got to start doing it if you want your kids to do it 100%.
That helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you got to do it. But if you talk about it and you make it part of your life and you can let them see the truth without trying to force the truth down their throat, it's going to be much easier and much more likely that they accept that idea. So don't force your kid to be something that you want them to be. Let them be who they are. You'll have way more influence by doing that. I know it sounds crazy, but you'll have way more influence by doing that. And by just living a good life where they see that this is part of the life. This is part of what's good. This is part of what's good. It's what we're doing. You get people that go, oh, when did you start hunting? Oh, my parents hunted. Or, hey, why do you eat healthy? Well, my parents were always eating healthy.
Yeah.
Oh, you're good at piano. Well, both my parents were musicians. You also get like, dude, you smoke. I'm like, yeah, both my parents smoked. You drink all the time. Yeah, both my parents drank all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, you go to church. Yeah, my parents went to church. Like whatever the thing is that as long as it's not imposed on you. Because you also, yeah, I haven't been to church in 28 years. Why? Mm-hmm. My parents used to make me go and I hated it. And like, oh. So think about that. Think about those things. And you'll have a better time getting your team on board, your employees on board, and your kids on board with the program.
Yeah, you're right. And you even had to correct me one day about that. It's just like you want to, like I knew this stuff too, but when you're in the situation, well, in my case, I built up expectations in my head, for a bunch of reasons. And yeah, so my son, he was 5, he jumped in. I was like, oh yeah, he's going to he's going to love this, this is the best day of his life right here. And he immediately didn't like it. Immediately. Like warm-up's not even freaking halfway done. And he's like, no, running off the mats, like all this stuff. And I was like, then I talked to you the next day and you were like, hey bro, he's 5 years old. Like, bro, calm down. And I'm like, oh brother. So, and I think a lot of times too, where I wasn't like talking to you about bringing him and nothing like that. So my mind just was allowed to wander in that way and build up these expectations. But right when you just saying that, just like basically just put out the flames that were going on in my mind. And
I was like, bro, he's 5.
Yeah, that's literally what you said.
No one said that to me.
But here's the... So jiu-jitsu in my family for my kids is just the normal jam. Whether they go to class or I do it at home or what, that's just what we're doing. They know I go train sometimes. Sometimes we go during the day, they don't see. Sometimes we go in the evening, they do see. Sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. It's just normal. There's no like jiu-jitsu time, is like a very specific thing. It's not like that at all. Which but it is what you just said, which is normalizing stuff, making just things normal, good or bad, and they're paying attention, right? You know that you mentioned the smoking thing. Now, if you grew up, unless like you see some lung cancer come in and just devastate, and then, oh my gosh, I never want to be like that. But if smoking goes on in your household, that becomes normal. So trying smoking for the first time is not a big deal, But if like you're not around anyone who smokes and then you see like your friends start smoking, you're like, bro, what the heck? I didn't even know people smoked. Like, what the hell? Same thing with healthy eating, same thing with jiu-jitsu, same thing with freaking how you talk to your family members, your wife, husband, or whatever. Like, you yell all the time, that's normal. It's normal.
Yeah.
And now growing up, they're just going to yell, Or if you talk like super nice and then they encounter people yelling at each other, they can be like, bro, what the hell? Like, bro, this is weird, So the more stuff you normalize, the more normal it's going to be for them. So that's why I agree with you. If you do jiu-jitsu and just something we're just sort of doing, well, no matter if they freaking love it one day or not, it's just normal. So it's not a big deal, So if they don't like it, it's like, whatever. It's like, just like you said, standing in line, freaking this. In fact, when you think about a lot of normal stuff that you do, you kind of don't like doing it. But it's so normal that you just like, whatever, you don't think about it, And so I think that's the way to regard the whole thing. And yes, it does depend on the teacher too. Yes.